Hi guys, Ranger here, and welcome back to another video. Welcome back to another reaction and review, and this is to the 4th episode of DuckTales, which is the Beagle Birthday Massacre. I believe that's the title. So, I'm not sure what this is, but I know it features the Beagle Boys. So let's dive in and see what happens in this episode. I'm excited because I'm curious if more information will be highlighted about Della Duck. So, let's begin. Because I really love this series. Starting video in 3, 2. She did. Oh my crap. No. No, please don't tell me that she's going to be a complete antagonist. Please tell me she's going to learn the power of friendship and she's actually going to side with Webby. Ah, oh, dang it, jeez. So she can... Wait a minute. Alright, Okay, I'm also wondering with the question right now. She uses this amulet to summon Magica, which makes me wonder what happened to Magica to make her have to be summoned. That's my question right now. What happened to Magica prior to this to make her have to be summoned by her niece? I'm really wondering about this. I'm sorry. I know this is supposed to be a dark, ominous moment, but the position of the shadow over top of this board makes it look like a very funny face on the shadow. It really does. Okay, this episode did not reveal anything further about Della, but it did set up a very interesting beginning for Magica to make her reappearance. But I'm wondering, Magica can use magic. I'm wondering if her niece here can use magic as well, or if she can only use the amulet. I'm not really sure. But there was a few different stories going on in the episode, which I will discuss. The first story was that the Huey, Dewey, and Louie had ended up taking off and on a little boating excursion and left Webby alone. And honestly, while I could easily look at this and say that the boys were in the wrong, definitely, for leaving Webby behind, they were used to doing this with just the three of them before, just, the three of them, the three brothers. So they were used to doing that, and so having a fourth person along in the small boat wasn't really something that they were used to. And Webby, being the good person that she is, she decided that she would suffer and let them go on and do their own thing. And I gotta say, I can't blame Webby. Honestly, I probably would have done the same thing, even if it would have made me feel bad. And so I really feel for Webby here because she's trying to do the right thing, even though it hurts her. But still, yeah, you can't blame. Yeah, but still, I can't help but feel a little upset that Hugh and Louie didn't think more of her feelings, and that she wanted to be included. What we saw before in the very first episode, in the second episode, was that Webby she had been sort of secluded for so long in the mansion. She was used to that, and she was used to that. She wasn't really used to being outside, hanging out with someone, having friends, or having a friend, and interacting with people. And so she was kind of more used to the conclusion. And so here now with Hugh and Louie, she has a chance to be able to interact. And it's a learning process because she's still kind of adapting and learning about things around her outside of the mansion. But her time there with did, however, help to heighten her senses in another way. It did help to heighten her senses in another unique way, which we are clearly seeing throughout the episodes, which is very unique to her character. And I really like that aspect of her. I really like that Webby is not the helpless girl stereotype. No, I'm not poking fun at Minnie Mouse whatsoever. Minnie can totally kick butt. She totally can. Give her a Keyblade, and she will whip you up one wand down the other. But Webby is not like Webby is more fitting with a growing. I'm very glad for that. A growing trend with Disney females, cartoon females, that can kick butt. You know, Minnie Mouse, Kim Possible, and then we also had of course Star, and we had Mabel and Wendy. So I'm really glad that Webby is not the helpless female here, and that she's really capable of defending herself and thinking for herself. And I really like that dynamic with her character. I'm really glad that she's portrayed to be a strong-willed and also intellectual individual. But she's flawed, of course. She's not perfect. She's flawed, and there are things that she doesn't know, things that she will still learn, and there are things that she has to develop and figure out on her own. And again, that's what makes her a really good character. Really, that's what makes any good character. But she wasn't really used to hanging out, and Hugh and Louie, they didn't take her feelings into consideration with this, and she did try to get into the boat, but it was too small, and so Webby decided that she was just going to sit it out. But instead of the boys saying, no, no, we want you to come along, they didn't take her feelings into consideration and went on anyway, leaving her behind. And to be completely honest, this is a kind of a relatable thing. And like I said, Hugh and Louie, you can easily say that they were in the wrong, but there's kind of a multiple dynamic. I'm not completely painting Huey and Louie as being in the wrong here, and I'm not saying that they were in the right either. They were in the wrong because they didn't take Webby's feelings into consideration. But then again, they too aren't really exactly used to having a fourth party that they have to interact with. It's mostly just the three of them. And so they're more aware of how each other feels. They joke around, they pick on each other, and so they're not really used to that with a fourth person. So therefore, they're not used to handling a fourth person's emotions and taking those into account. And so it's kind of both of the situations that both were in. You know, Webby is kind of used to, she had the isolation, so she wasn't really used to hanging out with someone, so she wanted to be included in something and be a part of something. Huey, Dewey, and Louie were kind of used to just doing their own thing with just the three of them, and so they didn't think about letting Webby tag along. It's still very early in the series, so I don't really think completely that they consider her and a crucial part of the group yet. But I think that hopefully that will change as time progresses. And the interesting thing about this, we are seeing development with Huey, Dewey, and Louie as well. This is one of those situations, and I can, like I said, even though I can say that they were in the wrong because they didn't take her feelings into consideration, and they did come back for her at the end of the episode and said that they would not leave her alone. They did come back for her later and said that they didn't want to leave her alone, and that they were worried about her, which shows that they do care about her. And I think it was possibly a situation where their guilt, it could be that their guilt began to eat away at them, and so they began to feel guilty because they left her alone, and they decided to come back and get her, and then they found out she was gone. And I think that this is definitely one of those situations where, you know, you realize you have to think about somebody else's emotions and their feelings and about what they might want as well, even if they act one way. If you really want to take them into consideration, you'll work to further understand them better. And here I think that's what Huey and Louie did. And the other interesting thing here is, Webby did not feel that she had a connection with Huey and Louie in the same sense that they did. Obviously, they're brothers. They've done this sort of thing a lot. And so Webby, she was more secluded and isolated. She didn't have anyone else to hang around with. So she felt that she didn't have any sort of connection with anyone like Huey, Dewey, and Louie do with each other. She wasn't able to say that she had any adventures or anything like they did. And so she felt very much left out. Not just that she wasn't included, but she didn't understand. There were moments whenever they would laugh or make jokes on something, and she herself felt that she didn't understand it. And it wasn't until she met this girl, Alina, that she befriended her. And I kind of thought of, in a way, Anais from The Amazing World of Gumball. Anais isn't really used to having a friend. She's intellectual, and she's not really used to having a friend, and so whenever she met someone, she kind of tried a little bit too hard to try to make a friend. Webby's not really trying, Webby's not trying as much as Anais would, but she's still not really used to the concept of making a friend, and so this is whole new territory, this is all new learning process for her. So it's a very different setup for her. And so that's why she was extremely awkward with it, is because she wasn't really used to it. But Lena felt, and honestly, the whole time, I honestly thought, no, this is just too good a setup. There has to be, there's no way that this, there's no way that this could actually have a good ending. And I kept, even up until the ending, whenever they were outside, I thought, just maybe there's a possibility that Lena and Webby might actually, maybe she's just someone that Webby could hang out with as well. But no, it's a setup. She is Magica's niece. That's uncomfortable for me, more than uncomfortable, actually. But I thought there was really something up. She made the mention about the party, and I really honestly have to say that I do still like Lena's character. I would have to say right now, she makes me think of character. She kind of makes me, for some reason, she puts in my mind Lightning Dust from MLP. But she made the remark about the junkyard, and I just thought it was kind of a regular party until they showed up and revealed that it was all of the Beagles. That's whenever I realized there was something wrong. She had to have been working with them. That's what I thought, she was working with them. And Mom Beagle was having a birthday party. And this was just an interesting thing because they weren't planning on revenge, at least at this point. There's a part of me that questions whenever Lena pushed the cake in Mom Beagle's face. I have to wonder, was this part of her plan to try to lure Webby into a false sense of trust? Was it just a ruse to make Webby trust her? Or was Lena actually having fun at this point? Was she actually having fun, being rebellious, and being daring at this particular point in time? And as I said, this scene with the truck coming down the alley reminded me of Christine. The moment whenever Christine was trying to get down the alley and she was like ripping her sides apart trying to get to that guy. And this truck was like scraping its sides and its mirrors down this alley. Yeah, this very much reminded me of that. But this episode is one of those that further shows how cool that Webby is, because she wasn't completely helpless in this, and it wasn't just Lena that had some ideas, it was Webby as well. Webby was able to jump up and use this ladder to help her and Lena both escape. And so, like I said, I really like that Webby is really competent in this. She might be a little awkward, but she's still competent. She does have really good ideas, and she does have a very quick wit. And so I really like that dynamic with her character. Like I said, I still really like Lena as well. But one thing that I question, and this is on a psychological level, Lena appears to be the teenager here, which makes me wonder if she's the easily influenced teenager. Meaning that, is it possible that Lena is at that age where she's kind of having a bit of an identity crisis, possibly, where she's trying to decide between her own life and working with her aunt Magica. And so she's at that part of her life where she's trying to find her identity and decide which that she wants to choose. It's just a theory. I'm not really sure. I'm sure I'll find out later on. But again, I really want to, honestly, I want to believe, but I don't want to get my hopes up, that Lena and Webby here actually had fun, and that there was actually a connection between them, and that Lena was actually shown a different life through Webby here. One that was fun, upbeat, and that she actually had some fun with this. And the British segment where Lena and Webby were talking in a British accent, I really love this part. I really do. I love British accents. And even though it's not a full-on 100% British accent, I really love their impressions here. That I really honestly love what they did with it. We get a bit more into Webby's backstory. She said that she did not hear an American accent until she was like 7 years old. So this is an interesting setup. We get a bit more of her backstory, and it kind of makes you feel a little bit bad for her seclusion because, you know, she was secluded and did not have a chance to experience the same life that the boys did. She wasn't able to experience that completely. Now she has a chance. And I'm concerned that this is going to be one of those life lessons that she learns, is that you cannot trust everybody that you meet. I'm afraid that that's going to be one of the life lessons that she learns here, but I'm hoping that there's also going to be, that it's not going to be the case, and that it may be the situation for Lena that she learns that, you know, real friends are hard to find, and so keep up with them. And there's a mention here that Lena has about not trusting family, and that there's problems with family. And the way that she acts about it, I'm theorizing, I'm wondering if she was just putting on an act, or if she legit in this scene was having some mixed feelings or some negative feelings regarding family, feeling left behind. Now this is kind of a theory because she makes the remark about family. Now she is trying to help her aunt Magica, which makes me wonder if she's possibly, where is her mom and dad? What happened to them? Is it they whom she does not trust? Is it they whom that she feels, you know, always argue? Now this is another theory. This is a possibility. Is that she could be working, and again, this is just a psychological perspective. Maybe her parents bicker and argue. Maybe they got a divorce, and so she's having to deal with that right now. Maybe she's had to hear her own parents argue and bicker, and so it's left this negative impression on her, and that's why she doesn't really trust family. But she's maybe working with Magica because maybe she thinks Magica can help, or she's just working with Magica because, you know, she's turning to the dark side because the dark side has cookies. And I don't know if she was putting on an act this entire time or if she was legit feeling this way. I'm not really sure. I want to believe that she was legit feeling this way, and that there was a very interesting dynamic between her and Webby here. And whenever Lena goes off on Hugo and Louie for leaving Webby behind again, I want to believe that this is actually her. That this is actually her talking and not her working with Magica, but this is actually her letting her emotions come through. And that's what I'm really hoping is going on. But this scene that transitions to this, whenever it shows the park and you hear the music change to a very creepy atmosphere, and it begins to show different scenes of the park with the lights flicker, with the tree and the lights flickering around the playground, and you hear the ominous laughter in the background. This scene I absolutely love because of the dark atmosphere and tone that it had. It really took on a creepy vibe, and it really sounded awesome. It really sounded great, and then seeing these clowns appearing over the darkness, appearing in the darkness, and they're just shadows, and the way that they move is really odd. It's really creepy, but it gave a very dark and ominous presence, and it really set the scene. This is definitely probably one of my favorite scenes from the whole thing. Back on the beach, Huey reveals that they will not leave Webby alone again. That they will not leave her alone, and that they won't leave her alone again, and that basically they're going to include her this time. And they learn to appreciate her and respect her and more understand her. And she revealed to them that she doesn't have anyone else that she can connect with like they do with each other. And so I think they understand that now. But the moment that Lena looked towards the screen, the music changed, and everything got darker as she moved towards the screen. I knew there was something wrong. And then it shows this nice morning shot of Lena back at this beach, and she has the amulet, and she uses it to summon Magica. Magica the spell. And she tells her, I'm in. Which says that Lena was using Webby the entire time. She was using Webby possibly because, and there's different questions that I have here. She was using Webby possibly to try to get into the mansion, possibly to try to get the #1 dime, or maybe there's something that they need to bring Magica back. I don't know. Right now, there isn't enough information with the scene for me to classify, or for me to decipher what exactly the case is. Magica could be locked away in some way, but she's using this talisman to communicate to Lena. And Lena needs something, possibly, to help Magica to come back into this realm. Or maybe Magica is hiding somewhere, but she's still using this amulet to communicate with her. That's just a theory. Now, originally, if I'm not mistaken, in the original series, I remember Magica tried to steal the #1 dime a lot, and in the comics, she tried to steal the #1 dime a lot. I'm not really sure what her plan is in this series. It could be something more dark and ominous. We shall wait to find out. But I have a feeling Magica is going to... Now, in the comics, in the Disney comics, Magica oftentimes, she can have a dark presence, but at the same time, she can also have a comical presence as well, because comical things have happened to her before. And I'm wondering in this, if she's going to be more sinister, or is there still going to be a comical nature to her whenever she is revealed? I'm not really sure. But I'm wondering if she might be one of Scrooge's more dangerous adversaries in this particular series, and what the backstory is for this. Now, like I said, I don't know if she's locked away somewhere, or if she is present somewhere. But there's questions that I have, which is, honestly, it's really, if Lena is the easily impressionable teenager, then it is very misleading and very wrong of Magica to use her own flesh and blood for her own gain, which is possibly what she's doing. And I'm wondering if there's going to be a scene where Lena learns that her aunt is a bad guy. You know, she can't be trusted, don't trust her, and Lena's going to have to side between her blood family and the friend she possibly has in Webby, or if Lena herself is going to completely side with that. I don't know. I'm hoping it's the former. I don't honestly want Lena to be a bad guy, but then again, I have been let down before. Lightning Dust and MLP. So, I'm not going to hold my breath, and I'm just going to believe that she's going to be completely evil and prepare for that until I'm proven wrong. Unless someone already knows, and if that's the case, I'd rather you go ahead and spoil that for me, and just don't give me any major details. Just simply put in the comments, don't worry, she's not evil. Or, don't worry, it'll be fine. If you put that in the comments, or don't worry, she will be good. If you put that in the comments, then I'll know everything's cool, don't worry. But if you're going to spoil that for me, and like I said, that much, I won't mind if you spoil it all. Don't put any more details, just put those comments so that I know, don't worry, it'll all be fine. But I'm also wondering, how did Lena know where Webby was going to be? How did she know about Webby? How did they know? Had this plan been in place since before Huey and Louie came to the manor? had this plan been in place since then, and they were getting ready to act upon it, but it just so happened that Hugh and Louis were already there? And where did this medallion come from? Where did this amulet come from? And it's kind of funny because the shot right here, the lighting on the amulet makes it look like it is an M on it for Magica. However, the funny thing is, from Lena's perspective, it could be W for Wumbo. SpongeBob reference. But I really, like I said, I'm not sure what's going to happen with Lena here. I'm really hoping that she is good and that she does find a really good friend in Webby. However, I've seen thumbnails from other videos, other like analysis videos here on YouTube that have shown some other things in it, but I don't think, I haven't watched any of them to avoid spoilers, but I don't think I've seen any of Lena in the thumbnails, so, and I haven't heard anyone or seen anything about her, so I don't know. But I don't like the idea at all of Webby being taken advantage of and someone duping her like this. So I'm hoping that there's going to be more to this, but again, I'm not getting my hopes up. I'm just going to go ahead and plan on her being a villain to save myself the emotional impact. But yeah, I really enjoyed this episode. It was a very fun episode to see that dynamic with Webby. We got a little bit more backstory into her character, a little bit more understanding into her persona, and how she both feels about Huey and Louie. She still feels excluded from them, even though she finds them, even though she really likes them, and partially admires them, I guess. Possibly, even though there's still a bit of a connection there, she still feels that the connection isn't as strong as it could be. She feels mentally, and this is an interesting situation because Webby is definitely an interesting character. There's more going on to her than what we just see on the surface. There's more dynamic, more depth beneath the surface than what we see. She's very upbeat, very lighthearted, but there is, I think, a concern. There is a fear beneath the surface that we don't typically see, that comes out little by little in different things, where, such as in this episode, she reveals that she doesn't feel as close to the brothers. She doesn't feel that they have a really solid connection at this point, and their jokes she doesn't understand. And she wants to be included. She wants to understand it, but she connects on a different level. And they haven't figured that out yet. You know, Hugh and Louie, they're used to the connection that they have. They're not used to connecting with someone else on a different level, such as Webby. Webby's not really used to connecting with anyone in general, and so here she's trying to still learn how to connect with them and understand them, and I think it's maybe understanding herself. And Lena was the first person whom Webby here actually really felt she had a really solid connection with, someone that she could bond with on a similar level to Huey, Dewey, and Louie's bond. And it was a really cool setup, but I really feel bad for Webby because I know this is going to be heartbreaking for her later on whenever it turns out Lena is pure evil. Please tell me she's not. Please tell me she's not. But I really, like I said, I really feel bad. And honestly, I kind of feel bad a bit for Lena as well, because if she's evil, she's making a very big mistake. This girl does have a lot of potential, and she could have a bright future ahead of her if she would focus on that, but instead, she's allowing herself to be duped by her aunt into doing something evil. Lena appears to be the easily impressionable teenager at this point, and that she's siding with that. And I'm really hoping that she sees the light, because she could have a bright future ahead of her. And it just occurred to me, what if there was a big, interesting twist? How do I mean? It won't happen, of course, but it will be interesting if it turned out that Lena maybe didn't really know her father, but she did kind of know her mother, but she knows her mother took off. for some reason, and Magica had kind of been raising her. But as it turns out, her mother is Della. Yeah, that would be interesting. That won't happen, of course, but that will make it for a very interesting fan fiction, I'm sure. But I really enjoyed this episode. I love this episode. So far, this is probably my favorite episode of the series so far, because we get more of a dynamic for not just for Huey and Louie, but Webby and Lena as well. And there's an interesting setup for how they play off of each other in this particular episode. Huey and Louie, of course, are still comical. It's funny because I said in the last episode that Dewey appeared to be the more mature one in this. However, Huey gave also a good level of maturity in this episode as well. And so it makes me feel silly for saying in the last episode that Dewey had a bit more maturity, because it was Huey that said that they would include Webby from this point on, and so Huey in this episode did display a great amount of maturity. So yeah, I have to withdraw my original statement that Dewey appeared to be the most mature one. At this point, it appears that Huey and Dewey both have similar maturity level, theoretically. I could be wrong. I'm probably going to get proven wrong, but again, I really enjoyed this episode. I really liked how the characters played off of each other, and how more of their personalities and their connections with each other developed. And I really enjoyed how this whole thing played out, and how like I said, they worked off of each other and learned more about each other. And I really enjoyed it. And it was a very fun episode. And I really enjoyed it, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens in later episodes and see what develops. But I'm uncertain of what's going to happen with Magica here. This is going to be interesting. But again, major props and thanks to Disney and everybody that worked on this episode and this series in general. Thank you to everybody that did this episode. Again, also I gotta add, I really enjoyed the voice actress for Helena here. I really enjoyed her character, her personality, and her voice actress, her voice. It really did fit her character, and I really like her character design as well. So yeah, for this moment, I really enjoyed Lena. So I'm very curious as to what we're going to see with her in the future. But again, major props, major thanks to everybody that worked on this episode, everybody involved. And again, thank you to everybody for watching as well. Hope you guys enjoyed. And let me know what you guys think in the comments as well. Thanks again for joining me. Hopefully I'll see you guys in the next video that I do. Take care.